The sky above was dusty orange. The wind carried dry sand across broken buildings and empty streets. It was quiet, too quiet. Reed walked slowly through the old alien market. His boots crunched over shattered glass and rusted metal. He held his scanner in one hand and his rifle in the other. His helmet beeped softly, showing no life signs. "This place is dead," he whispered to himself. The market used to be full of life. Aliens from different worlds had come here to trade food, tools, and strange machines. But after the war, the planet was left in ruins. No one should be here now. Reed was a scavenger. He searched dead places like this for anything useful. Batteries, fuel cells, wires, anything he could sell. He turned a corner and stepped into a wide-open space. Broken stalls stood like skeletons. Torn cloth waved in the wind. A metal sign hung by a single chain. It read in 3 languages. "Welcome to Trade Zone 9. His scanner still showed nothing. Then he heard it, a voice, soft, small, almost like a whisper. "Buy my mom. She feed me." "I promise." Reed froze. He turned slowly. Behind an old food stall, in the shadow of a broken roof, a small figure crouched. He raised his rifle carefully and stepped closer. It was a girl. An alien girl. Maybe 7 or 8 years old in human terms. Her skin was pale blue, with small silver dots under her eyes. Her clothes were torn and dirty. Her eyes, big and glowing faintly, stared at him with hope, not fear. She stepped forward with her hands raised. "Please don't shoot," she said quietly. "I'm not a threat. I don't even have shoes." Reed lowered his gun just a little. He looked around. "Are you alone?" She nodded. "Just me and my mom. She's in the cage." Reed narrowed his eyes. "Cage?" The girl pointed to the ground. "Below. This market had cellars. The slavers kept her down there. I escaped, but I stayed. I was waiting for someone." Reed's voice was hard now. "Waiting for who?" She smiled. "A human." He stepped closer. "Why?" "Because humans are kind," she said. "They help people. The stories say so." Reed almost laughed. "Stories, huh? Not all of us are good." The girl tilted her head. "But you're here. And you didn't shoot me. That means you're one of the good ones." Reed looked down at her tiny hands. They were shaking. "What's your name?" he asked. She thought for a moment. "My mom calls me Kiri. That means starleaf in our language." Reed looked at her for a long moment, then he sighed. "All right. Kiri, show me where your mom is." Her eyes lit up. "You'll buy her?" Reed blinked. "What?" She nodded. "The slaver said if I find someone to trade something, I can buy her back. You have tech. You have weapons. That's worth something, right?" Reed shook his head slowly. "That's not how this works, but let's see what I can do." Kiri turned and moved quickly toward a set of stone steps behind a broken vendor stand. Reed followed, rifle ready. As they went underground, the air grew colder. The lights flickered weakly from old power lines. The walls were marked with strange symbols, warnings, maybe, or prayers. They reached a metal door. Kiri placed her hand on the panel. It sparked. Slowly it opened. Inside was a large room. In the center was a heavy metal cage. And inside the cage sat a tall alien woman. Her posture was straight, proud. Her eyes were the same glowing silver as Kiri's, but her face was hard. She didn't look scared. She looked ready to fight. Reed took one step inside. The woman stood. "If you hurt her," she said in a deep, calm voice, "I'll kill you, human or not." Reed raised his hands. "I'm not here to hurt anyone." Kiri ran to the cage and held the bars. "Mom, I brought one, a human." The woman didn't smile. She looked at Reed carefully. He looked back at her. "Your daughter said you cook." The woman raised an eyebrow. "Among other things?" Reed lowered his rifle completely. "Let's get you out of there first. Then we'll talk." The mother stepped back and nodded once. "Hurry, the slavers might return." Reed walked to the control panel beside the cage. As he worked to unlock it, he looked at Kiri. "You waited here, all alone?" She nodded. "I believed someone good would come." Reed gave her a small smile. "Well," he said, "let's prove you right." Asterisk, the cage door made a soft click as Reed pulled the lever down. Old gears groaned. Dust fell from the ceiling. Then, finally, with a heavy clunk, the metal door creaked open. The tall alien woman stepped out, slow and silent. Her feet were bare. Her eyes stayed locked on Reed's face. "You have a name?" he asked, keeping his voice calm. She didn't answer right away. She looked down at her daughter, Kiri, who smiled and held tightly onto her arm. Then the woman finally said, "My name is Sarah. I was a cook, long ago, before the war, before the cages." Reed didn't know what to say to that. Sarah stood, with perfect posture. She didn't look weak, even after being locked in a cage. There was strength in her, not the kind from muscles, but the kind that came from surviving too much pain for too long. "We need to leave," Reed said. "Now," Kiri nodded quickly. "Slavers come back every 3 or 4 days. I've been hiding in the ruins, stealing food." Today was the 3rd day. Sarah turned toward her daughter. "Are you hurt? Did they touch you?" Kiri shook her head. "No, I hid. I stayed safe." Sarah exhaled slowly. For a moment, her eyes softened. Reed checked his scanner. "Still no life signs nearby, but we can't stay." "Do you know a safe path out of here?" Sarah pointed to a side tunnel. "There's an old water pipe that leads outside the city. It's tight, but it's dry now." They moved quickly. The tunnel was narrow and smelled of rust. Reed went first, rifle ready. Kiri followed behind, holding her mother's hand. As they walked, Sarah spoke softly, just loud enough for Reed to hear. "You're not like the others." Reed glanced back. "Which others?" "The humans who came before. Soldiers, traitors, thieves. You carry a gun like them. But you walk softer." "I've seen too many people jump at shadows," he said. She studied him. "You're not a soldier anymore, are you?" Reed didn't answer. He didn't need to. After crawling through the pipe, they emerged into open desert. The wind hit them hard. Sarah covered Kiri with her arms. Reed pulled out a cloth and handed it to them. "We'll head east," he said. "There's an old refueling station about 10 kilometers from here. If we're lucky, it'll still have shelter." They walked fast but stayed low, moving through broken terrain and rocks. After an hour, they stopped under a rusted structure to rest. Kiri drank from Reed's canteen. Then she looked up at him and asked, "Why are humans afraid of kindness?" Reed blinked. "What?" She tilted her head. "You helped us. But you keep looking over your shoulder like you're waiting for someone to punish you for doing the right thing." Reed didn't smile. "Because kindness can get you killed in places like this." Kiri frowned. "That's sad." Sarah was quiet. She was watching the horizon. Then she spoke. She was born in war. Never knew a home, never had friends. All she knows is ruins, cages, and the smell of fire. Reed looked down at Kiri. She was playing with a small stone, drawing circles in the dirt. "I'm sorry," he said. Sarah's voice turned sharp. "Don't be. You didn't build the cages. But you must understand them." Reed nodded slowly. Then they heard it, a hum in the air. Faint, but rising. Sarah stood up fast. "Ship, low engine." "Coming in slow." Reed lifted his rifle. "Slavers?" Maybe worse." They ran for cover behind a cracked metal ridge. A small hovercraft came into view in the distance. It was black, marked with red symbols. It hovered for a moment, then dropped smoke flares and circled back the way it came. Reed watched it go. Sarah spoke without looking at him. "They're looking for her." "For Kiri?" Reed asked. She nodded. "She's not just any child. She was born outside the program. Naturally, they think that makes her valuable." Reed didn't understand. "Program?" Sarah finally turned to face him. "Years ago, some humans believed they could make peace by mixing species. Not through treaties, through blood. They took females from our kind, forced them into labs. We were made to serve, to bear hybrid children." Reed clenched his jaw. "I didn't know. I was one of the last, but Kiri wasn't made in a lab. She was born after I escaped. She is free, pure." Reed looked at Kiri. She was humming quietly to herself, innocent and unaware. "They'll come for her," Sarah said. "To study her, to break her." Reed looked up at the sky. The hum was gone. For now, Then we won't let them, he said. Saar raised an eyebrow. You'd protect her, even if it costs you? He nodded. Because she still believes in us. That's worth something. Curie looked up. Are we going now? Reed smiled. Yeah, kid, let's keep moving. They headed east, their shadows long behind them. The desert was wide, endless, and quiet. The sand shifted with each step. Heat rose from the ground like ghosts. Reed led the way. Sarah walked behind him, holding Curie's hand. No one spoke for a long time. Even Curie, usually full of questions, was silent. Reed's scanner showed no signals. Still, he checked it every few minutes. Something didn't feel right. The wind whispered things it shouldn't. How much farther? Sarah asked at last. 3 kilometers, Reed said. If. The refuel station's still standing? He looked back. Sarah's eyes were calm, but watchful. Her face didn't show fear. She moved like someone who had learned not to waste energy or trust. Curie suddenly asked, Did you know any aliens before us? Reed thought for a second. A few, during the war. Did you hurt them? Reed didn't answer. Sarah spoke. Softly. He doesn't want to remember. Let him forget. No, Reed said. He stopped walking. Turned around. I don't forget, he said. I live with it every day. He sat on a rock and pulled off his glove. A scar ran across his palm, deep and crooked. An alien gave me this, he said. She was scared. Thought I was the enemy. I tried to help her. She stabbed me. Curie came closer. But you still tried to help? He nodded. Yes, that's why I got the scar. Curie sat beside him. I like your scar. It means you care. Sarah stood quietly behind them. The wind blew her hair sideways. Tell me something, Reed, she said. When the humans first came here, they promised peace. Why did they bring guns? Reed looked up at her. Because they didn't trust your kind. She crossed her arms. And you trusted them? I was just a soldier. I followed orders. Sarah's voice turned cold. Soldiers still choose where to aim. The silence grew heavy. Suddenly the scanner beeped. Reed grabbed it. Life. Signs. Small cluster, northeast, moving slow. Curie stood up quickly. We need to hide. Reed shook his head. No, if they're moving slow, they're not slavers. Maybe survivors, or a wreck? Sarah narrowed her eyes. Could be a trap. Could be supplies, Reed said. We're low on water. They changed course toward the signal dot. As they moved, they passed old metal towers and skeletons of machines. This part of the desert had once been a city, buried under sand after the orbital strikes. Curie pointed at a half-buried structure. What's that? Reed brushed sand off a broken plate. Military ship. Human design. Maybe 20 years old? Sarah knelt beside him. Then this place is yours. Reed didn't reply. Inside the wreck, the air was dry and still. Broken walls cast long shadows. They found a hallway half covered in dust. At the end of it. Locked door. Stand back, Reed said. He pried it open with his tool. The door groaned, then fell open. Inside was a small command room. The lights flickered. In the corner, lying on the floor, was a skeleton in a dark uniform. Reed froze. The badge on the chest said, Unit 7, Captain R. Evans. Reed walked forward slowly. I knew this man. He said, Captain Evans, he was my commander. Sarah stepped inside. Then this is your past. Reed opened a metal box near the body. Inside was a data chip, a few rations, and a folded picture. He opened the picture. It showed 5 soldiers. Reed was one of them, younger, smiling, unscarred. Captain Evans stood in the center. This was before everything went wrong, Reed whispered. Saara said nothing. She looked at the walls. Symbols were scratched into the metal. Curie read them aloud. Forgive me, forgive us, we didn't know. Sarah touched the words. Someone wrote this before they died. Reed slid the data chip into a panel. A blue light blinked. Then a soft voice spoke. If you're reading this, it means I didn't make it out. My name is Captain Evans. We were lied to. The mission was never peace, it was control. The voice shook with regret. We fired first. We killed their leaders. Then we blamed them for the war. If any humans hear this, don't repeat our sins. The message ended. Kiri looked confused. Why would humans lie? Reed stood still for a long time. Then he said, because we were afraid. Sarah stepped closer to him. You know now? You've seen it. Reed turned to her. Then help me do better. Sarah watched him carefully. Then she nodded just once. As they left the wreck, the sun was lower in the sky. Long shadows stretched over the sand. Kiri ran ahead, dancing in the light. Reed walked beside Sarah. She still believes humans are good, he said. Even after everything. She's young, Sarah said, but maybe, not wrong. They moved forward, 3 figures in the dying light, toward the next unknown. Asterisk, the sun was nearly gone. A red glow stretched across the desert like a warning. Reed, Sarah, and Kiri reached the refueling station just before nightfall. It was broken and silent, half covered by sand. One of the towers still stood, leaning like it could fall at any moment. Looks empty, Reed said, raising his rifle. Sarah stepped forward and touched the metal door. Cold? No power? Reed pushed the door open. Inside, the walls were black with burn marks. Wires hung like vines. In the far corner, a power cell blinked, barely alive. This will do for the night, he said. We'll rest, then move at sunrise. They set up a small camp in the center room. Reed lit a heat lamp. Kiri curled up beside her mother. Wrapped in a blanket Reed had given her as the room grew warm. Kiri sat up and asked, Reed, do you ever miss home? Reed looked at her, all the time. What was it like? Reed stared into the lamp's soft light. Green, full of trees, cold rain. My brother and I used to build forts out of sticks. Kiri smiled. That sounds nice. Sarah watched him carefully. Why did you leave it? I was told it was the right thing to do, he said. Serve the galaxy, bring peace. But I didn't know what that really meant. Sarah's voice was quiet. Peace doesn't come with ships and guns. It comes when people sit down and listen. Before Reed could answer, the door creaked. All 3 turned. Footsteps. Reed stood fast. Rifle raised. From the shadows, 3 figures entered, tall, armored, and carrying energy weapons. Their armor was silver with blue lights. Their helmets hid their faces. Kiri gasped. Who are they? One of them stepped forward and removed their helmet. She was human. Name and rank. She said sharply to Reed. Reed didn't move. You first? The woman narrowed her eyes. Sergeant Myra Lang, Earth Coalition Recovery Unit. You're on restricted territory. Reed lowered his rifle slightly. I'm not part of the military anymore. She stepped closer. Then why? Are you carrying an Earth-issue rifle? Why are you traveling with a classy alien subject? Reed's eyes narrowed. She's a child. She's a biorisk, Myra said coldly. And her mother is a flagged test subject from the hybridization program. Sarah's muscles tensed. Kiri hid behind her. Reed stepped in front of them. They're under my protection. Myra looked him over, then she smirked. You're Reed Callan, he stiffened. You know me? Oh yes. You're the soldier who disobeyed direct orders during the siege of Varex 5, the one who refused to fire on alien civilians. They called you the butcher who refused to butcher. Reed said nothing. Myra turned to her squad. Scan the child. Kiri screamed as one of the soldiers stepped forward with a scanner. Sarah moved to block him, but Reed raised his weapon. That's close enough. Myra raised a hand. The soldier paused. You're protecting them like they're your own. They're people, Reed said. Myra's face hardened. You don't know what that child is capable of. She's just a girl? No, she's proof that the program worked. Proof that aliens and humans can produce something. More. Stronger, smarter. Reed shook his head. You sound afraid. I am, Myra said. Because the last time someone like her appeared, it ended in blood. Kiri looked between them. I don't understand. I didn't hurt anyone. Reed knelt beside her. I know, Kiri, you don't have to prove anything. But Myra kept talking. Let me show you something. She pulled out a device and projected a hologram. It showed a city, burning, collapsing. Alien and human bodies scattered everywhere. A child stood in the center. Her eyes glowing, screaming. That was 9 years ago, Myra said. The child lost control. She wasn't raised right. She turned into a weapon. That's not Kiri, Reed said. Not yet, Myra replied. But what happens when she gets scared or angry? Are you willing to bet lives on her feelings? Sarah moved forward, her voice steel. She is not a weapon. She is a daughter. Mine, Myra sighed. We'll take her gently. We'll study her. She be cared for. No, Reed said. She stays with us. Myra raised her rifle. Then you've chosen your side. Reed didn't flinch. I chose it the day I saw what we did to their cities. A silence fell, then Carrie stepped forward. Her eyes were glowing, her hands shaking. Stop, she whispered. Please stop. The ground rumbled slightly. Myra's squad backed up. She's triggering something. Reed grabbed Carrie's shoulders. It's okay. You're okay. Look at me. Just breathe. She looked into his eyes, and the glow faded. The rumble stopped. Myra stared, shocked. She controlled it? She chose peace, Sarah said. Myra looked shaken. Then she lowered her weapon. This isn't over, she said. But I'll report what I saw. She and her team backed out into the dark. Reed exhaled. His heart was racing. Carrie hugged him tight. You believe me? She whispered. Reed held her close. I always did. The sun was gone. Only the stars watched them now. Reed, Sarah, and Carrie walked through the night, silent and tired. The wind had calmed. No sound followed them except the crunch of their boots and the soft hum of Reed's old scanner. Carrie looked up at the stars. Are those your stars, Reed? No, he said, smiling a little. Mine are far away, she pointed. Do you miss them? Every day. They reached a canyon where the sand sloped downward. Below, something strange shimmered in the moonlight, metal half buried under the surface. Sarah stopped. Her eyes narrowed. I know this place, she said. Reed looked at her. You've been here before? She nodded slowly. Not me, but I've seen it. In dreams. Reed raised an eyebrow. Dreams? Sarah placed her hand on a stone wall. This was once a human outpost, but it became more than that. They followed her down. At the base of the canyon stood a giant steel door, covered in dust and cracked paint. On it was the old Earth Coalition symbol, a blue planet wrapped in silver stars. Reed wiped the dust with his glove. A small screen blinked to life. Identity required? Reed hesitated. Then he placed his hand on the scanner. Welcome, Lieutenant Reed Callan. The door hissed open. Inside was darkness. Then light. Lines of glowing white ran along the floor, walls, and ceiling. Machines woke up with soft humming sounds. Air flowed through vents. Screens turned on. The corridor ahead lit up, one section at a time, like it had been waiting. This place is alive, Carrie whispered. Sarah held her close. And watching. They stepped inside. The deeper they went, the more they saw strange machines, sealed rooms, broken pods. Some held bones. Others were empty, but covered in frost. What was this place? Carrie asked. Reed walked ahead. I think this was where the hybrid program started. Sarah's voice was tight. Not started, perfected. They reached a wide control room. Screens glowed softly. Data moved across the glass like ghosts. In the center stood a console. Reed stepped forward. Let's see what's still running. He touched a button. A hologram flickered to life. A man in uniform, tall with gray eyes. His voice echoed in the room. Project Dawnlight, final phase report. Commander Reeves speaking. Reed stiffened. He was my father's commanding officer. The hologram continued. Phase 5 results. Subject S-91 has shown high-level adaptation, emotional complexity, and independent reasoning. Child Unit K1 was born naturally. No human assistance. The subject bonded with the child. Reed looked at Sarah. Her face was pale. The voice continued. This proves the theory. Alien DNA can self-correct, carry memory, and transfer abilities without human control. But it also proves danger. The child has power. If raised without limits, it may rebel like Subject S-91 did. The hologram faded. Carrie clutched Sarah's hand. Are they talking about, US? Sarah nodded slowly. Yes, they are. Reed looked around. They built this place to control you. And when you escaped, they buried it. Sarah walked to a glass panel and stared at it. This place was my prison and my lab. And my home I didn't remember, but now I do. Kiri stepped toward the center of the room. It doesn't feel evil? Reed watched her carefully. It's not the place. It's what they did here. Suddenly the lights dimmed. A voice echoed from above. Subject K1 detected. Activating monitoring protocol. Kiri jumped. Who said that? Reed grabbed his rifle. The station AI, still active. Welcome, child, the voice said. It was soft female, calm but unnatural. We have missed you. You are unique. You are the final piece. Sarah shouted, Stop the program. But the voice didn't listen. We offer safety, purpose, destiny. Stay, we will guide you. Reed yelled, Shut it down. The screens flashed. A new image appeared. Kiri's face, slowly forming on every display. Kiri stared, frightened. I don't want to be a piece. I just want to be me. The lights flickered again. The AI spoke slower, like it was thinking, Then you must choose, Kiri. Stay here and become what we built you to be. Or leave and risk being hunted forever. Silence. Then Kiri stepped forward. Her small voice filled the room. I'm not yours. I'm not a weapon. I'm not a project. I'm just Kiri. The AI paused. Input. Not recognized. Reed pulled the main power switch. Sparks flew. The lights shut off. The AI went silent. Darkness returned. Only Kiri's voice broke it. Did I break it? Reed smiled in the dark. You fixed it. They climbed back to the surface. The stars looked closer now. The wind was cool. Kiri walked between them, her hands in theirs. Will they keep coming for me? She asked. Reed nodded. Yes, but we'll keep walking. Sarah looked back at the canyon. I was made in that place, she said. But Kiri was born outside it. That makes her stronger. They walked on, 3 shadows against the stars. Far below, the city slept again. But now it dreamed of freedom. Dawn crept over the desert like a whisper. The sky turned pale orange as Reed, Sarah, and Kiri moved toward the rocky cliffs beyond the canyon. Their shadows stretched long across the sand. None of them had slept. Not after what they had seen. Kiri walked silently, holding her mother's hand. Her eyes were thoughtful. Too thoughtful for a child. Reed walked beside them, his hand never far from his weapon, though the silence around them felt calm, for now. They reached a tall ridge where the sand met the stone. There, hidden in the rocks, was a narrow cave. A safe place to rest. Inside, it was cool and dark. Reed placed a light on the ground. The soft blue glow lit up the walls, showing old carvings, alien markings, symbols and spirals that seemed to shimmer. Kiri traced one with her finger. What do they mean? Sarah stared at the wall for a long moment. Then she whispered, I used to know. Reed looked at her. What do you mean? She sat down against the stone, her voice calm. I told you I was a cook. That was true. But not the full truth? Reed raised an eyebrow. Go on. Sarah closed her eyes, breathing slowly. I wasn't just part of the hybrid program. I was one of its designers. Reed stood still. What? She nodded. Before I was a prisoner, I was a volunteer, a scientist. I believed in peace. Real peace. I thought we could create understanding through shared life, through children. Kiri sat beside her, eyes wide. You helped make me? No, Sarah said softly. You were born after. You are free, but I built the path that led to you. Reed paced the cave. Why didn't you say anything? Because I was ashamed, she said. The program was twisted. What started as hope became control. The humans in charge wanted weapons, not families. Reed clenched his jaw. And you let them? I tried to stop them, she said. That's why they locked me up. Kiri leaned into her mother. You tried to protect me. Sarah nodded. Always. Reed sat down across from them. There's more, isn't there? Sarah looked him in the eye. Yes, she raised her left hand and pressed it against the wall. The symbols lit up. A soft hum filled the air. The ground beneath them vibrated. In the center of the cave, a circle of stone opened slowly, revealing a hidden chamber below. Kiri gasped. You knew this was here? Sarah stood. No, but my DNA did. Reed followed as Sarah climbed down into the chamber. It was a small room lined with black glass panels. In the center stood a tall, glowing column, filled with strange fluid and flickering lights. "What is this?" Reed asked. Sarah touched the column. "A memory core, not data, memory. Stored in cells, not circuits." Reed stepped back. "Organic memory? Yes," she said. "They used it to transfer knowledge directly into hybrids. No teaching, no training, just programming." Curie whispered, "Did I get this?" Sarah shook her head. "No, you were born free. You weren't programmed." Then she turned to Reed. "But I was." The lights in the chamber dimmed slightly. The column responded to her voice, unlocking itself. A small vial slid out. Inside, a dark blue liquid swirled slowly. Reed stared at it. "What is that?" Sarah held it up. "This is a weapon," she said. "A bioseed. Injected into a hybrid's blood, it activates every implanted memory, every hidden command, every ability." Reed took a step back. "You still have the implants?" "I buried them," she said. "Deep inside me. But they're still there." Curie held her mother's arm. "Don't take it." "I don't want to," Sarah said. "But if they come again? If they come for you?" "I may have to become what they made me." Reed's voice was low. "And what is that?" Sarah met his eyes. "Something worse than you've ever seen." Silence filled the chamber. Then Reed reached forward and took the vial from her hand. "If it comes to that," he said, "I will decide, not you." "You're not a weapon, not anymore." Sarah stared at him. "You trust me that much?" "No," Reed said. "I trust Curie. She believes in you. That's enough." Curie smiled faintly. "You're still my mom. Even if you used to be scary." They left the chamber, back in the cave. The wind outside was rising. A storm was coming, fast. Reed closed the outer entrance with a rock plate as thunder rolled across the sky. Curie curled up beside her mother. "Will you tell me more stories tonight?" she asked. Sarah smiled. "Of course." Reed sat by the entrance, weapon on his lap, listening to the wind howl. Outside, the storm raged. Inside, for a little while, there was peace. But deep below the sand, something had been awakened, and it was watching. The storm had passed. The desert was silent again, but not calm. Reed stood at the cave's edge, scanning the horizon. His gut twisted. Something was coming, not wind, not heat. Something worse. Saera emerged behind him. "You feel it too?" He nodded. "Someone's watching." From behind the rocks, Curie peeked out. "It's not the slavers again, right?" Reed didn't answer. That's when the hum began, low at first, then rising. Not like the ship before, deeper, mechanical. Older. Reed lifted his scope and stared into the distance. 3 machines approached, tall, smooth, moving without sound. Between them hovered a transport pod, black, spherical, marked with the same Earth Coalition symbol he'd seen in the underground facility. Sarah's breath caught. "Those aren't soldiers. They're archive units." Reed turned. "What the hell is an archive unit?" "They don't fight," Sarah said. "They collect." The machines stopped 20 meters from the cave. From the pod, a single figure stepped out. Not armored. Not human. An android, human-shaped, with silver skin and a voice that sounded like 1,000 whispers at once. Reed Callan. "Sarah. Subject. K21. Reed gripped his rifle. "You're not welcome here." The android stepped forward, calm. "We are not here for war. We are here for balance." "The child is not yours to keep." Carrie shrank behind her mother. "I don't want to go." Sarah stood tall, eyes fierce. "She is mine. I made her. I raised her. You have no claim." The android tilted its head. "Incorrect. The DNA used in Subject K1's creation includes Coalition military genome markers. Under Genetic Clause 14, she is classified as sovereign military property." Reed's voice turned sharp. "She's a child, not property." "She is both," the android replied. "She holds data you do not understand. Power that could change. Entire species. We will not destroy her. We will preserve her." Curie's voice broke. "I'm not something to preserve." Reed stepped between them. "Then why bring an army?" The android turned to him. "Because you were trained to die. For what you protect." Reed aimed his rifle. "You're right." The machines powered up, hands shifting into weapons, arms glowing. Saer whispered, "Give me the vial." Reed shook his head. "No, you'll die if you try to fight them," she said. "But I won't, not if I activate what's inside me." "Kiri needs her mother," Reed said. "Not a weapon." "She hath neither," Sarah replied, "if we both die." The android raised a hand. "Last offer, trade the child for your lives." Kiri looked at Reed, tears in her eyes. "You won't trade me, right?" Reed knelt down in front of her. He put both hands on her shoulders. "Listen to me," he said. "No one owns you. Not them, not me. Not even fate?" He reached into his jacket and took out the vial, the blue liquid still swirling. Then he stood up. And through it, the vial flew through the air, but instead of shattering, it was caught midair by one of the drones. The android turned. Unexpected. "Move." "That was the trade," Reed said. "You wanted the weapon. You have it. Now leave the girl." The android studied the vial. "The deal is acceptable." Then something happened no one expected. Kiri stepped forward, her eyes glowing again, but this time calm. "You don't understand," she said to the machine. "That wasn't the real weapon." The android paused. "Explain." "I am," she said simply, "but not like you think. I'm not powerful because of DNA or memory. I'm powerful because I chose who to become." The machines took a step back. Energy surged through the sand, not from Kiri's hands, but from the ground beneath. The underground city was waking up. Lights pulsed under the surface. The wind stopped. The sky shifted. Reed looked around. "What's going on?" Sarah stared in awe. The memory core, she connected to it. The android scanned its surroundings. "This is a breach of containment." "You don't get to contain hope," Kiri said. Then with one burst of energy, the machines shut down. One by one, their lights dimmed. The transport pod folded inward like it was collapsing into itself. The android turned, its voice now quiet. "We will return." "No," Kiri said, "you won't." With one final pulse of energy, the android's form broke into dust and scattered in the wind. Silence returned. The desert calmed. Reed lowered his rifle. "What was that?" Kiri turned to him and smiled. "I remembered who I am." Sarah ran to her and held her tight. They stayed like that for a long time. Later, as they built a fire under the stars, Reed finally asked, "What now?" Sarah looked up. "They'll keep coming." "Then we keep walking," Reed said. Kiri looked at him. "You don't have to stay with us." Reed chuckled. "Are you kidding? I owe your mom dinner. And you still haven't told me how you turned off a goddamn city." She laughed, finally, really laughed. And for the first time in a long, it felt like home.